Welcome back to the cabin, Friquee Flyers. Today we will be doing a little bit of aerial straps conditioning. We are going to actually be getting on the straps today, and we're going to go through, honestly, just 2 beginner aerial straps conditioning exercises. These can also be used as moves, and they will definitely help you in terms of strengthening and creating choreography early on. As I mentioned, these can be used as moves, and you'll start to see if you watch performances of straps across different places, the ways that people kind of incorporate them both as transitions and also just as their own standout pieces. All right, folks, so inside of my space, I do have some height limitations at the moment. Now, I actually have, probably almost 20-foot high ceilings. However, I just don't have the proper beams installed. Fun fact, even if wood is sturdy enough to hold up a building or other pieces of brick, it may not be sturdy enough to hold up humans when in motion. We carry about twice our body weight when we're in motion. So it's just a good thing to keep in mind if you're ever setting up apparatuses from home, which I really encourage. I think that it's so good to democratize aerial. Just remember to be safe. Definitely try to find as many tools that are focused on lifting people that are in maybe professions such as construction. There are a lot of custom carabiners for climbing and rock climbing, but you can also get things that are more on the industrial side as far as individuals that work in crane lifting and such. Whatever you do, just make sure you're safe. Another thing that you can do is I did invest in pretty long straps because at the end of the day, the majority of time that I would plan to spend on them outside of training is performing. And in that case, I will traditionally have the proper height and have a little bit more room. And I believe that you can amend longer straps to make them shorter. You can always kind of take away, but it's a little bit harder to add on. So I personally have folded my straps. The hand loop part is actually being used as a secondary hook to create a loop on my carabiners. And I'm able to just slightly adjust my grips and my holds as needed. I'll do another video on that. That's not super important, but it is a fun fact. And it's just a good tip. I actually even used to have them from even lower here. Couldn't do as many things, but I was able to do something. So it can be worth it. All right, now we are going to get into the air. Today, we are going to work through a Nutcracker and a Meathook. If we have a little bit of time, I may throw in some flare practice as well, but I think it's actually really good to focus on less shapes, and then you can give each of them more time, whether these are shapes that, again, you use in a choreography piece, or these are just things for conditioning. I feel this way about pole. I feel this way about hoop. I feel this way about pretty much any apparatus, and it's actually a pretty new method for me. I love to move fast, so I completely understand if that feels boring, but we're going to give it a go. So first, we are going to start with our meat hooks. I've already done skin the cats, but I will do 1 or 2 of those here as well, just to give you an idea of where the body should kind of already be warmed up, as well as where the strength levels should be if you are going to attempt to go into these moves. Let's fly. Okay, so I'm just going to do skin the cat, and I'm going to kind of do it at somewhat of a close angle first because I just want you guys to make sure you're super clear on what that motion is looking like. Of course, I'm going into a roll-up. So for this, we're going to go into our traditional loop. So again, you're just kind of taking the strap, you're putting your wrist behind it essentially, and you're using that as the base point to then wrap it around the wrist and kind of create a little bit of a triangle right here at the center of your palm so that you know that you're not pulling and pinching at any of these super sensitive nerves within your hand. Before you know it, you won't feel things. I will then do the same on the other arm. So again, I brought my wrist behind the strap and I just kind of looped it around, looking at that center triangle in my fold over to make sure that everything is in good position. Now I'm just going to make sure that I am in line with my apparatus, which is something I'm not always great about. This is the same thing as making sure that your arms are in line with your spine and next to your ears if you were just, prepping for a handstand. And with that in mind, you're kind of going to just sink in a little bit. You are not using your lats or your delts. You're not engaging right now. You're just kind of making sure that the body lays flat, and you want to have it laid out flat. You then want to have your legs kind of out to the point where they should almost be in front of you, and your seat should be in a sink. If on the first Skin the Cat you need to make it a Skin the Tuck, that's okay, especially if you have been out of the lab for a minute. They can be hard. Go as deep as you feel comfortable. Try to hold it for a minute, and most importantly, keep the closure between your legs and your chest as closely as possible. Now we're going to take one full out. And again, I'm watching my toes. I'm trying to keep my chest close to my knees, my head close to my knees. Keeping everything closed. I can open for a second right here, and then I can come back around. And again, I'm keeping my face to the toes, my eyes on my knees, closed with my chest. And then we're back. Okay, Meathook time. So I will keep this as simple as possible. You can begin by putting your hands in the same loop that we used for your Skin the Cats. You are starting from that same roll up or tie up format. If you'd like to stand on your toes, that always helps with extending the rest of your limbs, and that helps with the overall extension in straps. Okay, so from here, you're not going to need to go into a full Skin the Cat. You can take this one of two ways. You can invert directly up into an aerial handstand, essentially, so to speak, except I'm using no hands. From here, you're going to use your legs like a compass and a guide from one side to the next. So I'm opening up that outside leg, and then I'm following it with the inside. And I'm touching my right arm with the opposite leg. And that's kind of how I know that my legs are in the position they need to be in. And I'm going to do that on the other side. And so on this side, I've brought the left leg down first. And I want to hold this left leg in. If you've ever done like a jasmine, or if you've done pole or any apparatus where you grip with the legs, it's very similar to that. And so again, I want to touch the right leg with my left arm. And then I can come back into a traditional kind of chopper invert in the air. Or again, if you feel it, you can go back into your handstand. You can invert if you want and do something cool out of it, like a semi-dislock. Something that's good to do for any aerial move is to probably get comfortable doing it on the ground first. So that can be any number of ways for this. I would probably suggest just, rolling yourself up just a little, maybe not too high. If you are interested in automatically focusing on the lifting portion, you can kind of lean yourself back, and you can really just get comfortable doing things like this. So this is a good exercise I enjoy. I'm just holding the straps, and I'm opening up the legs, because I'm going to do that so much in the air, and I'm going to do it with momentum. So this is a time for me to pay attention to my frame and to pay attention to how it feels when I'm twisting. For me to do a Meathook, I would bring the legs together. So can even turn them into kind of side lunges if you want. All right, it was getting a little toasty, so before I take our last one, a Nutcracker, had to change. Okay, I'm going to take this from the opposite side just so you guys can also, for those of you who are like right side dominant versus left side dominant, you can have every view that you need. So again, we're not doing anything different here in terms of the motion with the arms. We want to make sure we're under our apparatus. We want to go ahead and bring our wrist behind the strap, and we want to allow it to help us make a loop around the bottom of the strap with the triangle in the center so that we are not pinching any nerves. We are going to do the same thing on the left arm. And for a Nutcracker, as opposed to just focusing on arms or legs, this is extremely core and glute intensive, I would say. The focus here is that you do not want to over lift. You really want to allow your abs and your glutes to do the work. So I'm going to come into an invert, and then to come into a nutcracker. I'm going to start in a similar motion as a meat hook, and I'm going to bring that leg from the outside or the opposite side to the center. But instead of going all the way across, I want to make sure my chest is out, and I want to dip if I need to. Don't bend your knees, that's the whole point. And I want to bring that leg in between the straps, like a nutcracker. And I am pushing backwards and over, but I'm not pushing up. I'm not piking out, which is so easy to do when you're an aerial, guys. We love to pike out. Okay. I'm going to come out of that just for a second so we can talk about piking out. Piking out is crazy. Okay, so for those of you who are traditionally trained in aerial or gymnastics or dance, and you know what it's like, let's just take a moment of silence for the pike out, okay? The pike out pop-up is crazy. What is the pike out? The pike out is when you really should be like here, but your body wants you to go here. Or a flare is a great example. In so many cases, a flare motion is really supposed to focus on getting your legs to a place so that they can connect and guide each other into that natural motion of a flare. But I know for me personally, when I began aerial, and I see it all the time, what the body wants to do is it wants to stay close together, right? It doesn't want to open up. So when you're trying to do like this, you're getting a lot of that. That's piking out, okay? Pike outs pop up anywhere. Another place that I am really guilty of piking out is at the gym. There are so many movements where it's really not about the legs or the glutes. It's about the abs, right? And this kind of like connection space in between the glutes and the upper thighs. And we just kind of forget to activate it. We're sitting down all day long. If you work at a computer, that's a really sensitive area. That's why people suggest getting like the little back pillows. I did a roller session. So if you go to the CDF Instagram page, you'll be able to find that. I actually just did a session on like warm-ups that include body rolls, because I think that's a really great way to just make sure that you're like constantly digging into those muscles. Okay, I'm done. Either way, key point here is when you are in your nutcracker, do not pike out. You are not piking out, okay? We are keeping it tucked, because the whole point of that motion is not just practicing the tuck, it's also helping you to understand direction, which is going to be super important, because I'm sure we've all heard of the twisties, and at the end of the day, when you're in the air, you're a gymnast. So you're going to get the twisties if you're not aware of what direction that your body is supposed to be facing. And just from a visual perspective, you're not going to be able to execute the move to look the way you want it to look, and you're going to look at someone else and say, why is it not happening? It's orientation. Also, I make these mistakes all the time, so I'm not coming from like a superior perspective. It's like it's learning through experience, and it's really, really fun. Starting again for a nutcracker, I just want to be ready to go into my inverts. And this time I'm going to bring, again, I'm bringing this left leg down, both legs down. I want to hug them in. And I'm going to bring the right leg around. Something you want to pay close attention to is keeping the chest out, keeping the neck straight. It's very hard to do, but again, this has to do with direction. I'm now bringing that leg in, and I'm bringing things back. And I'm bringing things back. But I'm keeping it closed as I do. I'm not piking out. I'm being super aware to not overactivate my upper legs in this case and focus on using my lower back muscles and my abs. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I hope everybody also bust a little bit of a sweat. I'm going into my fun play session. If you have any personal training requests, you can always connect to us directly through the website. Again, check out that little conditioning video on the IG page, and we'll see you back next time.